Hey guys, this is Illusion Podfics, and we're back with another chapter of Birds of a Feather by House_Library. This is Chapter 4. Dick had never really felt like life was ever going to go his way. He was just born from misery and endless woe. If not that, then having to prevent other people from misery and endless woe. At least, that's what he has believed until this point. But things have been taking a turn for the good. He finally feels like he's comfortable in Bloodhaven after 4 years of working the scene there. He's reconciled with Bruce. Damien finally seems to respect him publicly, and things seem to be going better than he expected with Wally. Plus, he has started to look at his parents' passing as a growing experience rather than something that weakens him. He feels like he could handle anything thrown at him at this point. Dick, we need to talk. Now. Dick looks down from the gymnast bars he is hanging his legs from. Damien seems to be a bit bothered, but in all honesty, when is he not? What's up, Damie? Kind of in the middle of a warm-up here. Dick extends his legs and catches the bar and quickly goes into a flyway tucked dismount to land directly in front of Damien on the blue mat. The boy doesn't even flinch. Dick smirks, knowing that in order for that to happen, he knew that Damien knew that he would land the dismount no matter what. What exactly do you think you were doing? Being so irresponsible, putting the rest of us in potential danger. Damien starts to say, but is quickly cut off by the sound of the gym doors banging on the walls. Jason and Barbara barge in, making their presence known to Dick and Damien. What did you hope to gain by going behind my back about this? Scanning him and then using Damien of all people? You thought that this wasn't going to get out? Barbara scolds Jason, but Jason just ignores her. He looks so red that Dick thought he was wearing his cowl mask for a second. The large man is quickly approaching him. Dick looks between the three of them and quickly side-turns Damien to take his place and face Jason. Whoa, Jay, hold up, what is going on? He holds his hands up to Jason's chest and gives him a stern look of seriousness. He also simultaneously has to hold back Damien, who looks ready to bite Jason's head off. Damien, what are you talking about? Dick asks quickly, trying to create as much space between the two of them as possible. Dick, maybe it's better if we talk in your room, where you can sit down. Barbara calms him. He raises an eyebrow at her. Sure. Okay? He says, still holding back Damien and Jason a bit. Damien eventually crosses his arms. Jason, Damien, enough. Please? Dick deserves to hear what we have to say without you two gnawing at each other's throats, Barbara says with some spite in her words. Damien backs off and gives Dick a nasty side-eye. This is why I prefer to work alone, Damien spits while gesturing to Dick. Well, so much for the respect he had gained. Dick was so confused as to what was going on as they led him back to his room. He had only been back in Gotham for 2 days. What could he have done wrong? Was this because he blew off Barbara at the library yesterday? She already knew that he had something planned with Wally, so that can't be it. He takes a seat on his bed and turns on the string lights dangling from above. Barbara takes a seat by his desk while Jason leans against the doorframe, and Damien makes himself comfortable on a beanbag chair in the other corner of the room. Listen, Dick, what we want to tell you is pretty serious. Just know we aren't judging you for your actions, Barbara says in an attempt to ease Dick's nerves. Oh no. I am judging him. I am judging him so hard for this. He is an imbecile, a deadbeat, and not someone I look up to or respect, Damien says. It's harshly said, too, like laced with anger. Dick is dumbfounded. I'm sorry, what is he judging me for exactly? Dick asks, looking at Barbara. Well, it's... Barbara begins, but is quickly cut off before she can get any more words out. You think you can just abandon your kid and just live the rest of your life without owning up to the consequences of your actions? Have you seen him? He looks like a complete mess, all bloody and bruised. He's off in the streets trying to get by while you're here making a complete fool of yourself on your cushy bed and stupid string lights. How can you even have that poster of your parents up when you yourself are a disgrace to their legacy? What the hell is wrong with you? Did Bruce not raise you better than this? He took you in when you had no one, nothing, and then you went behind his back and did something so irresponsible and left your own son out to rot in the streets of Crime Alley? Damien shouts at Dick. No mercy. Dick's eyes widen, trying to process the words that just got thrown in his face with zero context. He turns to look at the Flying Graysons poster above his bed, and then back at the 3 of his siblings. Barbara is gobsmacked, which is a new expression Dick had never seen before, even back when she had found out that she had been temporarily paralyzed from the waist down. Even Jason is taken aback by Damien's words, and that was saying something since Dick hadn't seen a clear and visible expression on Jay's face since before the incident. What the hell are you talking about? Dick shouts back, I don't have a son. Where is this coming from? I'm not even in a relationship with a woman, so where the fuck did you get the idea that I had a son and that I abandoned him? Dick is exasperated. He looks at their faces. They are quiet, glancing at each other. Don't do that. Do not look at me like you don't know me at all. I helped raise every single one of you in one way or another, and you have the audacity to accuse me of, first off, having a child that I abandoned, and second off, putting the BatFamily identity at risk by not telling anyone about it? Dick inhales deeply, trying to catch his breath. Do you know how stupid all of you sound? Do you really think that low of me? Dick looks at all three of them, waiting for an answer. Jason speaks first. Dick, no, of course not. I didn't think or even consider what Damien had said. Jay glares at Damien as he says this. We wanted to explain the situation and then see what you had to say about it. He glances at Barbara. It's true, Dick. Please don't take what Damien said to heart. He's just a little bit emotional right now, since he can relate to Peter in a certain way. That and puberty. Barbara sneers towards Damien. Dick can visibly see Damien's eyes soften at Barbara's comment. His face flushes and he huffs as he crosses his arms. Sorry, Richard. I got a bit ahead of myself and didn't give you a chance to share your side. But my reaction had nothing to do with puberty, he quips. Who is Peter? Dick asks. There's a pause between the four of them before Jason steps forward and projects what they have made of Peter's file and photo on the wall. This is Peter. His full name is Peter Benjamin Parker, according to the Tompkins shelter system. Alleged age, 17. Barbara ran into him at a library yesterday and couldn't get past the similarities in appearance between the two of you. His status is homeless. We couldn't find any record of him anywhere. He has no school registration, no siblings, no job history, no social security, no medical history, and no immediate family. Well, he has two immediate family members, and that's... Jason swipes to the family tree that connects Dick to Peter. Dick sees biological father under his name. You. Flagged as the biological father, and a woman named Mary Parker was flagged as his mother, but she died of heart complications 16 years ago. His DNA did not come up in any of the databases that the BatComputer had access to, but it was cross-referenced for potential biological matches, Jason mutters. Dick didn't think his jaw could go any lower without disconnecting from his face. Peter reminded him of himself when he was Robin. The similarities were evident. Okay. Dick pauses. Okay. He is at a loss for words. A couple of things. First, I have never seen this one before in my life. Second, if Peter is 17, then that would mean he would have needed to be conceived when I was 14, 15, and although I did lose my V card around that age, I would have known if Peter happened then, because I stayed friends with the girl I slept with, and saw her several times after we did it. Plus, we used protection, he breathes slowly. Damien rolls his eyes. Great. I'm glad that if you took any one thing from having the talk with Father, that it was using protection, and not the no underage sex part. Dick ignores him and puts his face down. His palms stretch out his face in frustration. How is this possible? He whispers. He looks up at the projection again, looking at Peter's face. Okay, tell me the potential answers. He looks at Damien. I know you've thought of potential answers as to how Peter and I are related. Damien smirks. Right you are, Richard. Right you are. He walks up to Jason's remote and taps it for a new projection. I've come up with 3 potential answers for Peter's existence. The first one was the most likely to be true, and the one I thought was the most plausible, which is you hiding Peter from us and using the BatComputer to completely erase any trace of him for anyone to find. Dick frowns at that thought. But of course, dear brother, we now can take your word for that not being the case. The second option being a clone, like the whole Connor situation, but I scratched that one off pretty quickly since the DNA was not higher than a 50% match, and there was a confirmed mother after further search. Damien pauses. Okay, and what is the last answer? Dick asks impatiently. Damien grimaces. Well, the last option is that Peter's not from this universe. Everyone looks at him in shock. Wait, that can't be possible. We fixed the whole multiverse situation with the crime syndicate, remember? Barbara states. That is true, but that never seals off the potential visitors and threats from other universes. The multiverse is something we know dangerously little about, and Shazam and Wonder Woman have shared that we should still be wary of any future problems, Damien says softly. Wait, we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves. I now know you 3 can jump to conclusions and make yourselves look like complete jackasses. We do not want to make that mistake with this potentially homeless kid, Dick says. Maybe we can monitor Peter for the next couple of days and see what he does, then report back to each other for further analysis. Barbara, Jason, and Damien all nod in agreement. Dick feels the sick feeling in his stomach with the new information. So much for being able to handle anything that life was willing to throw at him. He felt like he should have just kept his thoughts to himself. A son? If this was a multiversal issue, how did that even work? A technical son? Someone who he could have had? He didn't know how to process it. What did we tell Tim and Stephanie? Barbara asks. What did we tell Bruce? She quips. I think it's more of a matter of if we tell him, Dick says quietly. Peter had been making his way around Gotham for the past couple of hours, trying to not only familiarize himself with the surroundings, to seem like less of an outsider to anyone he meets, but to also get his mind off of Wanda and his dream. He was now confident in his information on the BatFamily and some of the surrounding neighborhoods in Gotham. He knew about Bruce Wayne and Wayne Industries being one of the main pillars of Gotham, aside from GothCorp and Cord Industries. The city also had many villains to take note of, such as Joker, Mr. Freeze, Clayface, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy, Penguin, and several others. Peter was a bit concerned with the crime rate in Gotham, and it now made sense to him as to why there were a whole family of vigilantes in Gotham. Being outside was risky, but he needed to take the risk in order to learn about where he was. He wore a hat and hoodie he bought from the shelter for $10. Thankfully, the cash he had in his Spidey suit was the same they had in this universe. Gotham was a sight to behold. Pretty gothic in some places, and pretty advanced in others. It was a step back from New York in his opinion. He was about 10 blocks away from the shelter by now, and was keeping track of where he was on a mini physical map he had gotten from the subway station. At least the city was somewhat organized. Peter! Peter, is that you? A familiar voice reached him as he turned to look who was calling him. Blonde hit him by surprise. What a coincidence to see you here! Are you getting something to eat here at Edwino's? Gwen asked him, motioning to the pizza place behind him. Oh, no, I'm just out for a walk. Checking out the sights, you know, he said as he shrugs. Gwen looks intrigued at his response. Checking out the sights? Here in Gotham? Interesting. Well, you should have lunch with me and my friend. I can introduce you, she says happily. He smiles downward at the invitation. I shouldn't interrupt you hanging out with your friends. Besides, I'm not really hungry right now. His stomach betrays him and growls loudly. He blushes for the second time in front of her. You liar. Come on, it'll be fun. They don't care that you're staring at a shelter if you think that's a problem. We all know how hard it can be. She nudges him. She grabs his arm and leads him into the pizzeria. It looks like some of her friends are already here. There were 2 people sitting down, but Peter only recognized Jamie sitting in the booth. Peter! It's good to see you. Oh wow, your forehead looks crazy better than it did yesterday. Glad you're recovering quickly, Jamie says as he greets him. Peter did not even think about his healing factor when it came to seeing someone he saw last night. He really hoped that Jamie would just let it go if he tried to change the subject. Oh yeah, haha, Peter laughs awkwardly. I heal pretty fast. It's like I'm Superman, Peter quips. His joke falls flat as he can tell Jamie somewhat forces a laugh as well. He face palms mentally and tries to think of something else to say, but is interrupted when asked another question. What had happened to your forehead? The other boy at the table asked him. He had finally raised his head from his phone and met Peter's eyes. Peter didn't know whether he was making something up in his head, but he could have sworn the boy's eyes widened a bit when he looked at him. Oh, I ran into a dumpster yesterday in an accident. Got a small bruise, Peter shares quickly. It's not that big of a deal. Small? That bruise was huge. I was surprised it looks as good as it does today, Jamie says. Peter cringes a bit, and the boy next to him gives him a quizzical look. He really did not want to raise any flags for this new boy. Something about him made Peter want to be careful about what he did and said around him. I invited Peter to eat with us, if that's okay, Gwen says to Jamie and the mystery boy. They both nod as Gwen gestures for Peter to sit in the booth. Don't be shy, Peter. The pizza is amazing here, Gwen smiles at him. Even though eating does sound like it'll make Peter feel better, he doesn't know how he's going to pay for anything. I don't think I'll be getting anything, though, Peter says quietly. I don't have too much money on me. He felt so out of place amongst an established friend group. In his mind, he just wanted this to be over quickly, all while not being rude to Gwen and her friends. Suddenly, another girl walks up with 2 whole pizzas in hand. Order up, everyone. Oh, we have someone new joining us, she asks. Yes, Kara, this is Peter. Jamie and I met him yesterday at the shelter. Kara smiles at Peter. She has a kind smile with dimples popping on both sides of her cheek as she does so. Her eyes are a very deep blue, and a part of Peter feels like she is able to see into his soul. She is blonde like Gwen, but taller than her, and more athletically built. She also seems a bit tanner. "Oh, that's awesome! You volunteer at the shelter too, Peter?" she asks. Peter swallows hard, his throat suddenly very dry. "No, I'm staying at the shelter, actually." There's an awkward pause between them all. "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry. That was so insensitive of me," Kara says as her face becomes red. "Don't worry about it. It's no problem." Peter reassures her. In reality, he is extremely embarrassed and uncomfortable. He usually tries to alleviate tension with humor, but he feels as though his humor got knocked out of him when he hit the dumpster. "Peter, you don't have to worry about paying for anything. It's all on me anyway," Mystery Boy says. He makes eye contact with Peter and gives him a sincere smile. The boy hands a slice of pizza to Peter. "Hope you like chicken Alfredo pizza. Or there's a vegetarian option, if you prefer. Oh, I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Tim Drake, by the way. It's nice to meet you." Tim had been looking forward to being with his friends. The Titans and Titans West had been spread out across the world on prelim trials for the Justice League, and fortunately, he got to still be around Kara, Jamie, Connor, and Gwen as he was still covering the East Coast. Gotham itself was a trial enough for the League to verify. He was nearing the end of his trial and was on a 2-month sabbatical back with Bruce in Gotham. He was looking forward to taking a small step back and just dealing with Gotham troubles for a bit. Of course, Gotham couldn't wait to throw him a curveball. Seeing Peter almost made Tim have a visceral physical reaction. He thought he was looking at Dick with a different color palette. Now he was sitting across from a mini version of Dick who seems to be about the same age as him. Peter was happily eating pizza like a lost puppy who finally found food. Tim ordered 2 more pizzas since the group still looked hungry and Con would be joining them soon. Peter did not seem bothered by more pizza. Tim was a bit taken aback by how much Peter could eat. He had paid attention to what Jamie and Gwen had said about Peter's injuries when Jamie had mentioned them to Tim last night. Looking at Peter now, he didn't seem anywhere near as badly injured as Jamie had made it seem. Tim thought that it was weird how Peter avoided talking about his injuries that he couldn't cover up, but maybe he was just insensitive to Peter's feelings. He looked over at Gwen suspiciously, but it seemed she was avoiding eye contact with him. Something was off here, and he knew Gwen knew what was going on. "Interesting," Tim whispered. Kara looked over at him and whispered, "What's so interesting, Tim?" Tim looked over at her and he shrugged. "Nothing of note yet, but I'll tell you if my theories is correct," he quietly tells her back as the others are in deep conversation about the construction near the library. Kara squints at him. "Please don't do anything stupid." Tim looks at her incredulously. "Don't give me that look, Tim. For someone as brilliant as you, it does not excuse you from doing stupid things. You should know, because you are just as stupid as you are smart." Kara laughs slowly. Tim frowns childishly at her. He gets up to go pay at the cash register, and while he's up there, he notices Peter saying goodbye to Gwen and the others. He doesn't want Peter to leave. He wants to test his theory. He looks over to the entrance and sees Connor walking in. Tim whispers very quietly, "Don't let the brunette boy walking towards the door leave. Lightly hold him in place till I get to you. His name is Peter. Tell him Jamie told you about him." Connor looks up at Tim from the entrance, then looks over at Peter. Tim nods back at him as he finishes paying for the food. Connor lets Peter approach him and places a hand on his shoulder. Tim can see him introducing himself to Peter as he starts to make his way over. Suddenly, Peter is able to make his way out of Con's grip and waved goodbye to him and Con. Tim's jaw dropped. "What the hell was that?" Tim jabs at Con. "I told you to keep him in place. You didn't even try." Tim rubs his face at Con's failure. Connor isn't even looking at Tim. His eyes have not left Peter since he pushed past him. "The thing is, I did try," Con tells Tim. He looks at Tim with an unknown emotion in his eyes. Tim looks over to see Peter across the street making his way downtown. His eyes look back at Con. "Well, my theory did pan out." "Shit," Tim breathes. Alright guys, and that is the end of chapter 4 of Birds of a Feather by Howls_Library. I hope you guys like this chapter and I'll see you in the next one.